Alright, here we have the camera set up in a slightly different posture, and I want to show a couple more dives and surfacings. I hope from this angle it's easy to see the tip of the rudder. Let's see what we can do. Alright, so there's the tip of the rudder, and I'll sweep by. There's the sail. So it's got a slightly bow high attitude for surface running. And the intake for the ballast is right there, that little tiny tube. So that's what takes in and expels all the ballast water from the submarine. Alright, so I want to operate the tail group. Okay. So the dive planes operate like such. That's up, neutral, forward, down for diving, right rudder, neutral rudder, left rudder, and then of course the propulsion. I'll go very, very slowly on the surface. There we go. Takes us right about to there, and let's see how much propulsion we can give it before we start making a mess. Okay, well, that's it right there. That was about 1/3 throttle, and I've got water slopping out of the tank now, so I'll have to not go any higher than that. Back to neutral, and then let's reverse for a bit. So that was reverse, and then forward. Don't want to go too fast. I had to actually stop. I can't go anywhere in this tank really. I don't want to slam the bow or the stern into the walls for the safety of both the tank and the submarine. Okay, so let's, oops. There we go. Okay, time for diving. So we've got the pump on maximum RPMs. Takes about 40 seconds to dive. Surface tension is going to cause the hull to pivot around the sail until the sail is submerged. And there we go. Resting on the bottom. This submarine will self-recover. Since I went neutral on the pump as soon as it started going down, it won't take long for it to start rising again. Now the more water put into the ballast tank, the longer it takes to expel that water. So if somebody was to take the sub too deep, it might take a little while before it surfaces, but it will resurface as long as all the hatches are sealed and no air is leaking out of the submarine. Ah, there we go. Okay, that was without any action on my part. Now I'm going to expel the ballast water manually with the ballast pump. Now I want to zoom in on the ballast inlet. Gotta find it here. Okay, I'm going back over to the sail here because the autofocus not working too well for me at the moment. There we go. There's the ballast inlet. Okay, good. Now I'm going to expel ballast water. You'll see a thin stream of bubbles. Now those bubbles are jetting straight out. We don't have to worry about that air loss because it's not being lost from anywhere except for the isolated pump chamber. When we're fully expelled, you'll see the bubble stream will change. It'll be a lot bigger and it'll go vertical. There it is. Okay, you see those bubbles? That means we've expelled all the water from the ballast system. Okay, so now I'm going to move to the bow here. Okay, and we're going to dive again. I want to focus on the bow this time because I want you to see how the bow drops as we take on ballast water. Here we go. Okay, right about there, the submarine hull is essentially level. Now I'm going to expel that water again. You'll see the bow rising up out of the water. It's easy to see because the towed sonar array hump starts coming out of the water. It's no longer at the water line. Okay, there we go. We're at full surface. Okay, now I'm going to go over to the rudder fin. Okay, now I'm going to pan back a bit. Okay, now on the right side of the picture, you can see the surface tension at the aft part of the hull. Now, as I start taking on ballast water again, I'm going to take on ballast water and bring the bow down. You'll see the stern rising out of the water. Well, watch that rudder fin and watch the water line. Here we go. Okay, this hull is almost equal. And there we go. Okay, the forward tank is full. The sub is now level in the water. Okay, so this is the dive posture. Now, if we were to try to run on the surface like this, the bow wave that builds up would actually shove the bow down and it would bring the stern up. The hull would pivot and the propeller would come out of the water. So that's why at speed on the surface, the bow needs to be higher than the stern. It's to keep that propeller in the water, keep it from biting air. Okay, now we're going to submerge. What's interesting to me is that the bow always submerges first. The surface tension is not as strong on the bow as it is on the stern. But you'll see when it comes off the bottom, it's essentially level. So going down bow first is a function of surface tension in this tank. Probably doesn't act the same way on a pond where there's ripples from the wind. The ripples would break up the surface tension. And here we go, slightly bow high, but essentially level. Now as soon as the sail breaks the water, the hull starts to pivot around the sail. And it will oscillate back and forth for a little bit until it stabilizes, but it's going to continue to come up. Okay, I'm going to help it out by expelling some ballast water. The aft deck is awash. Forward deck is awash. And as we expel more ballast water, the bow will start to rise and the stern will sink a little deeper into the water. We're taking on the surface running posture now. Ballast tank is empty. Okay, and you can see that there's only a tiny amount of the rudder sticking out. It's about 5/8 of an inch, it looks like. And the submarine is sitting at a distinct bow high angle. Okay, let's have a little bit of fun. Submerge.